All right, let's talk about one of the most polarizing tokens out there right now in the AI crypto space, ChainOpera AI, or COAI. This is a project that's got this incredible futuristic hype around it, but at the same time, it's setting off some major alarm bells for market analysts. So, what's the real story here? Are we looking at a legit glimpse into the future where AIs are all collaborating on the blockchain? Or is this just a classic market trap, all dressed up in fancy tech speak? To figure that out, we've got to look at the two very different stories being told. Okay, so first up, let's dive into the official vision. This is the story they're selling, the one that's pulled in millions of users and a whole lot of investment. This is the big promise of what ChainOpera AI wants to be. So at its heart, ChainOpera AI says it's this complete decentralized OS for artificial intelligence. The really cool hook is this idea of a social network for AI agents. So you're not just, renting out some computing power. The goal is to build a whole world where different AIs can actually team up, make money, and build on what the others are doing. And they've built this whole vision on four main pillars. First, there's a system called proof of intelligence, which is supposed to reward real contributions, not just people gambling on the price. They've got a super detailed four-layer architecture that maps everything out, from the app you'd use to the blockchain itself. Plus, the team has some serious street cred. We're talking a USC professor and former engineers from Meta and Google. And to top it off, they've set these really ambitious growth goals. You have to admit, it's a very slick, very powerful story. So that's the grand vision. Sounds pretty amazing, right? But what happens when an idea like this gets unleashed onto the open market? Well, the result was one of the craziest, most volatile price charts we've seen in a long time. In late 2025, the COAI token just went vertical. In a span of only 17 days, its price exploded by an almost unbelievable 22,800%. I mean, that's not a typo. A rise that fast gets everyone's attention. But you know how this story often goes. What goes up that fast, well, it tends to come down just as hard. Right after hitting that insane peak, the price crashed by about 80%. A huge amount of value just gone, leaving a lot of people scratching their heads. And this is where the narrative really splits in two. See, analysts like this one didn't think that was just normal market movement. No, they called it a harvest, a textbook pump and dump where a few insiders, and I'm quoting here, made a killing. All that skepticism made people start digging a little deeper into the token itself. And when analysts got into the on-chain data, they found a bunch of pretty serious structural red flags that painted a very different and, frankly, a much riskier picture. And this right here, this is probably the biggest warning sign of them all. An absolutely staggering 96% of the entire COI supply is held in just 10 wallets. 10! That means a tiny group of people have almost complete control over the market, and they can move the price however they want, whenever they want. And it doesn't stop there. On top of that crazy concentration, over 80% of the tokens are locked up, which is basically a ticking time bomb of selling pressure waiting to go off. The contract is also unrenounced, which is a fancy way of saying the team can still change the rules. They could change fees or even freeze trading. You put all of that together, and analysts say it's a perfect setup for market manipulation. So you've got these two totally conflicting stories. On one hand, this amazing, revolutionary promise. On the other, these incredibly dangerous tokenomics. It makes you wonder, is the big vision just a shiny distraction? Naturally, this has led to a wild disagreement about what COI is even worth. And you can see the split perfectly right here. On one side, you've got the bulls, who see this becoming the app store for AI and are predicting a price of over $45. Then you have the bears, who are slapping a sell rating on it, calling it a massive bubble, and predicting it could crash all the way down to $2.50. I mean, these two predictions aren't even in the same universe. So where does that leave you, the person trying to make sense of all this? When a project has such a great story but is waving all these dangerous red flags, how are you even supposed to approach it? This is really the million-dollar question for any of these high-risk, high-reward assets, isn't it? When the story sounds so good, but the numbers and the structure look so bad, how do you figure out what's really going on? Well, the analysts suggest you need a framework, a simple checklist. First, you have to check the tokenomics. Who actually holds the supply? Can the team change the rules? Second, verify the utility. Is there a real product here with real people using it, or is it all just talk?
And third, and this might be the most important, assess the risk. With this much insider control, you have to be honest with yourself and assume that losing everything is a very real possibility.
And all this brings us to the final, lingering question. The COAI enigma is a classic crypto dilemma. You have this beautiful, world-changing vision on one side, and on the other, you have the alarming reality of its market structure. In the end, which of those two stories is going to win out? Which one matters more?